What's up, everyone? We're back.
Dr. Maxfield.
Dr. Shah, and welcome back to our channel, Doctorly, where we talk about all things skincare and dermatology. Today, we have a pretty timely video.
It is. It's something I want to talk about every year, actually, because dry skin in the winter kills me.
It's the worst. It's the worst. The seasons are barely changing, and I'm already getting like dryness on the legs.
Yeah, same.
So we're going to be talking about how to transition your summer, spring skincare routine to that winter, fall skincare routine, because you may have a certain skin type, but your skin will change throughout the seasons depending on the humidity, depending on the heat, the cold. So we're going to be talking about what you should do to transition to those colder, drier seasons. How to transition your skincare routine? Here we go.
Here we go.
All right, to start off the video, this video is sponsored by First Aid Beauty, a company that I've worked with for a very long time. I absolutely love them. So this is clearly a natural fit for this video. So thank you so much, First Aid Beauty, for sponsoring this video.
We've talked about their products before in our previous videos, and especially when it comes to their moisturizers, that's where they're going to plug in part, at least in this one.
And they were one of the first brands to really take sensitive skin into consideration, using fragrance-free products, using gentle products that don't really irritate the skin. And so it's been a big favorite of mine for a long time. And so we're going to be talking about the transitioning, and thank you to them.
So although there's some transitions, there is one constant, and that is the sun. And for me, I'm outside, I surf at sunrise the same time or the same sun time every week. And you have to have UV protection, sunscreen all year round.
So tip number one, continue to wear sunscreen regardless of the seasons. What does change actually is the UV radiation index throughout the year. So UV index actually does go down in the winter. There is less UV radiation. Specifically, UVB radiation seems to go down in the winter, whereas UV radiation goes down but it stays relatively about the same. And that UVA radiation is the one that's going to contribute to aging. It's going to damage your collagen. It's going to penetrate window glass. And so you're still going to want to protect yourself throughout the seasons. The other thing is that a lot of people spend time skiing in the winter, snowboarding in the winter. Those higher altitudes do present higher radiation risks as you ascend higher altitudes. And so just keep that in mind. Sun protection is going to be important regardless of the season.
So although the sun protection is a constant, one of the things we're going to have to do is focus on hydration. And so tip number 2 is going to be to change the vehicle.
Change the vehicle. What does that mean? So the vehicle that your moisturizer is in is actually really important. All the time, people just say moisturizer and they don't really distinguish between the two. But depending on your skin type, the vehicle is super important for your moisturizers. So for gels, those do really well for oily skin. They have a higher water content, they're much more lightweight, and they do really well for oily skin. They're really much better for the summer times. And then you have your lotions, which have a higher oil content than gels do, but they're not nearly as good as creams at moisturizing, which have a much higher oil content, much lower water content, and are much more effective at locking in moisture and preventing transepidermal water loss. And then on the extreme end, you have your ointments. And your ointments are those really sort of occlusive ingredients that really lock in other actives. They don't really let moisture out. They don't really let things in. And that's going to be something that is going to be really for dry skin and to protect the skin. And so I think in the wintertime, you're really looking to switch from your gels and lotions to your creams and ointments.
Yeah, and another thing I noticed people are concerned about is, can you use these on your face as you move up to the creams and ointments? And I'd say absolutely yes, because even when you have something like acne, if it's treated well, then using a cream and ointment is a perfect foil, because not only is it going to moisturize well, but it's also going to help keep that skin barrier protected from other irritating ingredients that you're using. And so for me last winter, I had to just switch everything up. Like I said, I had to switch entirely to creams for my face. Like I don't think I used a lotion the entire season, and I rarely use lotion except for the face altogether.
Right. So I definitely have been using a lot more creams. I pretty much use thicker creams year round. All of you who follow us know I always say I like a really thick moisturizer, and it's true. Year round, regardless, I really like to protect my skin barrier and moisturize. And so I'm always pretty much using creams and ointments, but I think specifically in the winter, everyone should really think about using these. So now it's time to reintroduce one of my favorite moisturizers for drier seasons. And that's the First Aid Beauty Ultra Repair Cream, which I've talked about a million times, but let's talk about it and let's go through the ingredients, because I've never actually gone through the ingredients with everybody. So you have to actually peel off the label to access the ingredients. It takes a little while to figure that out. Just look at these ingredients here. So one, you have ingredients like glycerin, which are humectants. They help to moisturize the skin. They pull water into them. Then you have shea butter, which is a lipid. It's an emollient. It helps to soften the skin. It helps to prevent transepidermal water loss. Dimethicone, which is, there's a lot of fear around dimethicone. It's one of the best ingredients in skincare. It serves as an occlusive, but doesn't fully occlude the skin and really helps to prevent that transepidermal water loss. Squalane, which is like one of our favorite skincare ingredients, helps to prevent transepidermal water loss by being an emollient, but is also a humectant, also an antioxidant, really just one of my favorite all-time moisturizers and favorite skincare oils. And then you also have ceramide. Now, ceramide is the most important lipid in the skin barrier. It's the most abundant lipid in the stratum corneum, and it's the most important for preventing transepidermal water loss.
Yeah, and we've gone a lot of ways trying to like figure out a new way to talk about ceramides, but it really is like the glue that holds the bricks of the skin together. It's just so foundational in keeping your skin barrier intact, protecting your skin, keeping it just so functional. Now let's get into like the anecdotal part of this moisturizer, because this is actually one of my favorite things about it. Oh wait, did you say oats?
No, I forgot to mention that. This
oats.
is the most important thing. Yeah. Oh yeah. So let's talk about colloidal oatmeal, right? Because so when you flip up the label, see, this is where I got duped right now. It's because I went right down to the inactive ingredients, but you got to look up at the active ingredients, which has colloidal oatmeal, which is actually an FDA designated skin protectant. So it's actually an active ingredient that's regulated. Very, very effective ingredient for people that have eczema, dry skin, and tend to have itchy, dry, irritated skin.
Yeah, oats is great. It has studies behind it. There's like this whole thing like, oh, it's a natural ingredient. It either doesn't need or can't have studies. I don't get it. But this has studies in it. It's so foundational. It has like very, very great benefits. I love colloidal oats. Now back to the anecdotal part of this, and that is this texture. So this one's already been opened, and let's see if we can see it here. It's such a light color, you may not even be able to tell it from the white of the walls, but it's like, I would say it's whipped. It's one of those moisturizers that just kind of melts away on your skin as you put it on. So even though it has some heavy hitter moisturizing ingredients and just provides a ton of protection, it's got that really, really lightweight feel. And I just love that. So that's like a perfect thing. This is just like, it's nice.
Nice. No, but really though, whipped texture is probably the best way. It's the only moisturizer I would describe as whipped that I've tried. So it has this very whipped texture to it. I've never heard it said like that. Perfect description of how this feels on the skin. But it doesn't occlude your pores. It's really non-comedogenic. Very effective moisturizer. Has amazing ingredients, as you can see. Has ingredients that soothe the skin if you have dry, itchy skin during the winter. So overall, fan favorite, cult favorite, my favorite. So really, really good a moisturizer for the winter. If you do continue to use your hyaluronic acid in the wintertime, I recommend doing what I call double moisturizing, which I think is important. And you can do this in multiple ways. You can take a moisturizer that is an emollient or a cream or a lotion and follow that with petrolatum-based products. Or you could take your hyaluronic acid serum and lock it in with something like the First Aid Beauty Ultra Repair Cream. And then that's actually double moisturizing, preventing that transepidermal water loss and really keeping your skin hydrated. So just keep in mind the idea of double moisturizing. It's not going to clog your pores, but will hydrate your skin and prevent that transepidermal water loss that definitely gets worse in the winter. So now you switch your moisturizer from your gel and your lotion to your cream and your ointment. But what ingredients do you want to look for? So the next tip is to look for ingredients that are really more of your emollients and your occlusive ingredients for the winter and drier skin.
Right. So we're getting away from the humectants. We're getting more into ingredients that can lock in that moisture, things that can even provide some structural support. So we're talking about your ceramides there. And then we also have things like squalane. We have jojoba oil, safflower oil, and then the gold standard for occlusives, petrolatum.
You want to move away from your humectants. Well, what are your humectants? Your humectants are things like your hyaluronic acid. Now, you can still use hyaluronic acid in the winter, but hyaluronic acid is a humectant that pulls water into it, holds onto water. It has to get the water from somewhere. So when your ambient humidity is actually down in the wintertime, then it's going to start pulling water from the deeper layers of your skin, and that's actually going to lead to more transepidermal water loss and really dry out your skin. So you want things that are going to either lock in the hyaluronic hyaluronic acid, or you want to avoid hyaluronic acid altogether and use things that are emollients and occlusives that prevent that transepidermal water loss. And that's the most important thing with moisturizers. A lot of people think that moisturizers bring water in with them, and I think that that's a little bit of a misnomer. What they really do is prevent transepidermal water loss, or they're lipids that help to kind of seal off the skin and try to smooth in some of those cracks between your skin cells.
Right. We actually use this with eczema a lot. So atopic dermatitis, their skin just really can't hold in water at all. It's just unfortunately structurally designed in a way that doesn't do that well. So we recommend after their skin is already damp, they apply some of these occlusive emollient ingredients with a good cream ointment-based vehicle to lock in that damp moisture.
So the next tip is, what do you want to focus on not doing during the winter time and during the drier season? So you really want to move away from using your heavy actives. So the next tip is avoid really active, irritating ingredients in the winter.
Yeah, and so this is something that I think people, I guess they're concerned about backing off on the actives that are working, I guess, but you really do have to make adjustments just for your lifestyle, and in this case, the environment changing around you. So retinols, exfoliation, these are some things with retinols, especially with acne, talk to your doctor, make sure that this is the right step for you, but back off when you can, decrease the strength can be appropriate, and then decreasing the frequency, especially with exfoliation, can be a very, very judicious way to protect your skin.
Right, and you may not even want to exfoliate in the winter at all. That would be okay too, but really just listen to your skin. This is going to be really important. A lot of people will tell you, all of a sudden my skin started getting irritated now that it's September or October or November. And the reason why is just because your skin is changing due to the environment. And so listen to your skin. If you're getting away with continuing to use your retinoid every single night and it's not causing you any problem, no reason to decrease it. But if you are noticing irritation, you can definitely back off, and you'll still see most of those benefits that you get with these products, even if you're using them less frequently. And we have evidence to suggest you don't need to use these every day. You actually don't need to leave them on your skin all day either to see a benefit. And so even in small doses, you'll still see a lot of the benefits with these retinoids, with these exfoliating acids, even if you back off a little bit. That being said, you may actually get more dryness and flakiness and what we call ichthyosis vulgaris on the legs in the wintertime, or you may get like cracked, peeling heels during the wintertime as well. And if that happens, you may want to actually use a moisturizer that exfoliates at the same time. So First Aid Beauty also actually has one. Their KP lotion has lactic acid in it. You can also look for products like amlactin, which has ammonium lactate in it. Those ingredients have ingredients that both moisturize and exfoliate at the same time. And so if you're noticing that you're getting that thickened skin on the legs, it would be worthwhile considering using a moisturizer that exfoliates at the same time.
This is very underutilized, especially for the feet. Part of what we do in dermatology is actually look at people's feet. I can tell you this is a very underutilized ingredient product combination. Definitely take advantage of that. So the next tip is, since the humidity is down in the environment, you could reintroduce more humidity into your environment. Basically just use a humidifier.
Exactly. So use a humidifier. Now this is a hack we tell our patients is very effective for people with dry and irritated skin. And so they've actually done studies that show that if you have really low humidity where you live, it can affect the properties of your skin. It can make you develop more of those wrinkles that you get with dryness almost within 30 minutes of being exposed to low humidity environments. And so it makes a big difference in the moisturization of your skin if you're in a low humidity environment, especially if you're using ingredients like hyaluronic acid. So you could buy a humidifier. We'll link some below. We'll have to do some research on the best humidifiers and let you know. But the goal is to get your indoor humidity anywhere between, some people say, 30 to 60, 40 to 50. I think 40 to 50 would be a reasonable range. If you get really high, then you're going to grow mold and all these kinds of things. If you get really low, then it's going to really dry out your skin. And so 40 to 50 would be a really sweet spot for this, and without causing too much damage to your indoor stuff, your clothes, I don't know.
Okay, so I grew up in Colorado where humidity is 0%, and now went to medical school in Florida, and now I live in North Carolina. We don't have mold growing on the windows in Colorado.
I had mold growing on in my clothes got infested with mold when I was in med school.
Is that crazy? Yeah, and it's everywhere. You look at the windowsills, those little mesh things. There's just mold in the windows. It's normal. So yeah, finding the balance for you is going to be good.
Right. Definitely the balance is important, but buying a humidifier a lot of people will tell you it's absolutely changed their skin. And the last tip, and a lot of people hate me for this when I say this every single time, including your wife. I actually think she called me out on this.
Yeah, she did.
Basically, hot showers are not good for the skin. I hate to say it. So if you're getting dry skin and you're adjusting to the seasons, consider just using lukewarm, or cold showers.
So just imagine what it's doing, right? If you've ever washed dishes, and I'm actually... Okay, I was going to say I'm the chief dishwasher in my household. It may not be true, but I grew up washing dishes. We didn't have a dishwasher growing up. And if you use hot water to remove the oil and grease from your pans, it's just so much more effective than if you're trying to use cold water, like infinitely more effective. So this works the same way for your skin. If you're doing hot showers, which is very soothing, but it strips your skin so effectively of the oils that it needs and makes. So it is what it is. Skip the hot showers. If you have dry skin, it's going to help.
Not just that, but the other thing that you can do, right, is you could take this First Aid Beauty Ultra Repair Cream and actually keep it in your shower, because one mistake I see a lot of people making is that they moisturize way too far after they get out of the shower. So as soon as you get out of the shower, applying your moisturizer, or while you're still in the shower, while your skin is still damp, moisturizing is really going to be the best way to prevent that transepidermal water loss.
A part of me thought he was going to, I was like, there's no way, he's not going to say moisturize while you're showering.
No.
Like, maybe, is he really going to go there?
Don't do that. That would not work. Moisturizing soon after showering within 5 minutes. And I promise that makes a huge difference, especially, it's like Dr. Maxfield was saying, in dermatology, we see sort of like the worst case scenario when everything goes wrong. And when we see dry skin, we think about the worst form of dry skin, which is really bad eczema or atopic dermatitis. And when we treat these patients, we think about all these things and implementing all these different factors. So if you just have mild dry skin that kind of irritates you, bothers you, gets a little bit dry, but it's not a big deal, then, some of these tips will help you. But for those people that really have that eczema, atopic dermatitis, really get broken down skin barrier, these tips can be life-changing for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Thank you all so much for tuning in. These are our tips for transitioning for the seasons. Please like, comment, subscribe, check out our links below, and we'll see you in the next video.
We appreciate you always.
What? Do you just put seltzer water in your hair?
Yeah.
Why?
Cowlick.
Why don't you just use regular water?
I'd have to get up.